This podcast is part of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts.
Welcome to Body Count, a history podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Body Count, the podcast where we believe history doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes, and we are a proud member of the Big Heads podcast network. We're here to show you don't hate history, you just hate the way that it was taught to you. The only rule when we choose a topic, someone, or as usually the case, a lot of someone's died. So we give you the series of events in a narrative fashion, and by the end, correlate said events with current events. So we're not PBS, Ken Burns, Dan Carlin. We don't talk like this for 3 hours. So if you want that Hoover-esque Just the Facts Ma'am history podcast, we are not going to be for you. So there will be analysis, opinions, and just know that this is not a lecture. All opinions are our own. That's a mouthful. Just know that we these are our opinions, okay? Know that I'm hold verbally hostage. That's the thing. Okay, so direct your hate at the host where it belongs. And so it said tragedy plus time equals comedy. So know that we are going to laugh and giggle at some occasionally rough subject matter. So we are not trying to offend anyone. You've been warned. Okay, so I obviously am not the host. I'm the co-host, Bethany Skelton. And of course, my lovely and smart and neurotic, amazing host, I'm just teasing, I tell you, is
Jessica Manor. And guys, some fun things. We're going to be coming at you live. You get to see us do this on Patreon, so it's going to be a lot of fun. So we suggest everybody head over there, watch it. We're going to have fun. We'll just, this first one may be freezies. It may be that much fun.
Because it's the first,
available to everyone.
It is one of the first times where we're like, hey, let's do something different because we've been gone for so long. So here we are trying to branch out and do
something different for you guys.
Yeah.
And TNA always pay.
Yes. Amen.
Really quickly, let's get to today. First, housekeeping. We are a part of the Big Heads Podcast Network, which is a great collective of podcasts. We are super excited. Please go check them out on social media, everyone. If you love the show, please go and give us those 5 stars on iTunes or wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. You can say whatever the hell you want. We don't care. It's not to make us feel good. Not saying we won't feel extremely good because, that goes in the tank for me every time I read our good reviews.
Hair flip.
It does help us out on the business end, so we always really appreciate that. To that note, we are obviously right now actually getting our Patreon back up and running post-second hiatus. So we're going to have bonus episodes. We're going to show us shooting the show. We're going to try to get some interviews set up, do some body counts that aren't body counts, which we don't get to do on this show, which will be fun. Things like the kamikaze pilot who lived.
Yeah. We're broadening our
we're going off
death.
Brand, broadening our
all kinds of different death. Exactly.
So we'll be sure to keep you updated via social media. So be sure to follow us on social media.
Yeah.
Now, down brass tacks. We apologize for the 3-week hiatus.
Yes.
But school in Virginia was canceled before a lot of school was canceled in the country. And then
way before,
actually. To Texas, so I'm coming at you.
3 days ago? Was it 3 days ago? 3 days ago?
3 or 4 days ago.
And the worst part is you had to leave your husband because he is more than just an essential employee. He is essential.
There's not a lot of engineers in the world, so that's where we live at.
And for me,
And
it's
I
been
could
crazy
be
too.
clean.
Yeah, I mean, it's been weird for me too because yes, I'm still here in Alabama, but life has shifted dramatically. Um, Schools shut down. I think this is the beginning of the fourth week that school shut down and trying to get a new normal. And then add on top of that, last week my husband came home and he's now having to work from home. And he's a government, like he has to have like no distractions, no anything that would, including the internet. He has to have all the internet. So I've got three children that can't be on YouTube or
Teachers
Netflix
now.
or nothing.
We're teachers now.
We're teachers now too. Yes, and now but they haven't given me anything, but that's another topic.
I promise we don't teach our children history the way that we teach you guys.
No,
history.
no.
Please don't
No.
call CPS as if they would come out on a good day, more or less. Pandemic. I'm just saying, I wish, and I thought about it, that I had pulled the plug on Spanish flu a few weeks ago. And so,
It would have
and now
been very
everybody is
interesting.
telling, yeah, but now it's all the wrong stories about Spanish flu on the news, and it irritates me ever so slightly.
Yeah.
We've given it another name also, which is just more fun. But since they didn't pull the plug on Spanish flu,
We still have
it. We still have it. We're gonna do it. We have to now.
Say the reason for our absence.
I keep getting. Oh, and can you do Spanish flu?
Yeah. Hey, by the way, can we get the facts, the real facts on that?
Some facts, just any facts at
Any
all.
actual facts.
You know what? Not even facts, but could we get context on that? There was a war on, if anybody didn't know that. So, but because we are all stuck inside, bored AF.
Yes.
What's fun this week? So we've put all our pending guests on hold. All our guest episodes.
It's still coming. We just had to
everybody's mid-pandemic,
shuffle.
So we're having to shuffle.
It's like when you go onto your music and you're like, what do I want to listen to? I'm just going to hit shuffle play. And you get like Miley Cyrus, Party in the USA, and then, a soundtrack from The Sound of Music. Like, it's just, you got to go with it. You got to go with the flow of whatever shuffle pup. So our schedule now is non-schedule. There is no schedule.
Theater the Great is moved to the back burner, guys.
Yes.
It just is
Sorry.
what it is. We're going to get to it. We're sorry, but we had a guest on that one that we've had to shuffle things around. It just is what it is. We're all inside. We're all bored.
We're all in
somehow
there
magically busy while we're doing it.
We're all in it. Sorry, I had a High School Musical on. I'm sorry, we're watching a lot of shows. We're watching a lot of shows, okay?
Watching a lot of shows. Everybody's watching a lot of shows. It's nothing but shows.
No.
Usually on this show. Now, we don't take ourselves seriously, least of all me, but that's between me and my therapist, not all of you. So we have fun here. We do. We have fun here. It's in the intro. Bethany read it to you. We like narrative history. What is history if not a story, guys? Mm-hmm. And no, I don't put my sources in show notes, but that's because I'm appallingly lazy. I'm not going to go track it down. And I don't want you guys to have to pay for some of that crap, but mostly I'm lazy.
You do the work.
I am lazy.
Yeah, but you do the work. You do the work that is needed. I mean,
down. Now, I may be ripping somebody else off, but it's always somebody else that did the work.
And you're still going to source them. Hey, I'm ripping them off, but they did the work. They have the credentials. I'm using them as my backup. Okay?
They
my
are not a quack.
My source posse. You have a source posse.
I have a source posse. I really do.
You really do.
I'm so grateful for them. I'm so grateful for them. Because here's the sad thing. I don't even look at my own primary sources most of the time. It's usually like, oh, you need this and this? Yeah, I got it. Here, I'll just send it to you. Oh,
No.
I'm
So,
so lazy. I'm so
thanks for giving me the information I didn't have to look for.
which I always appreciate. But
Anyway.
I do the work. I promise I do the work.
Yes.
Or somebody, or I pick somebody that did the work. And nothing we gab about here isn't 100% on the level. I swear to. I'm stir crazy though. I don't know about you. Like, I got cabin fever. I got cabin fever.
Because we can't get on the internet, like I said earlier, we have to come up with alternative like things to do. So we literally cleaned out his entire room. He doesn't want his bunk bed. I mean, we've rearranged and got rid of toys. Dude, he's not even 9 yet. And he's like, I want a PS4. And I don't really play with toys. I just want, a computer. And I'm like, what? What is happening? Who are you? So yeah, that's how stir crazy it has gotten. Like, it's like, kill me now.
Agree.
Yes.
We're been in a fucking bunker. Oh,
we are losing.
We're not first, guys.
We're trying. We're going to try. We're going to try. But we are.
Try so hard. We really are.
So hard.
And
so
this
hard.
actually started out, it was supposed to be something short and sweet and fun looking, just a little single source. And it turned into a conspiracy theory that is far out
down the rabbit hole. You went down the rabbit hole. And that's your thing. That's your thing.
Chase it down. So a great deal of what we're going to talk about today, guys, should be taken with a grain of salt. Very much do. Why do a conspiracy theory, though?
Why not?
It was a fun look for me at how you can twist sources or data to fit whatever story we want to tell versus the story the sources and data actually tell. And sometimes there just is no answer when we look at this stuff. You have to simply wait for more information. If it's not forthcoming, file it in history's mysteries. Okay? It just is what it is.
And that's kind of how it becomes it, because when you don't have the exact answers, then you start searching and then you start questioning and then you start doing this, and that's what makes it an actual conspiracy theory.
Correct. Exactly. Then, David Icke starts telling people everybody's reptiles and it gets weird after that.
Hey, I actually wouldn't hate it, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. But I thought that message was something that we should definitely keep in mind while we are glued to the news.
The news. The internet.
Anyone can twist anything to form their own narrative, being the point. Yeah. And as an appallingly lazy person, which we've already established, I am often guilty of relying on the narrative that others spin. I just told you I was. I told you that is exactly what I do. And this is a fun reminder of why it's our responsibility to look at the facts and form our own opinions.
Hold on. I know that you're kind of but you're trying to toss yourself into others. Here's the thing. Here's the difference: is you actually find you might check and poll other people's work, but you're polling people that have the degrees and the background, and they did extensive research, and they're citing their sources, and those sources check out to be even smarter people than that. So it's not like you can say, oh, I'm doing exactly what others are doing, because what they're doing is just taking, oh, did you hear the YouTube influencer who said this? That's newsworthy. So it's a kind of, yes, you're pulling from other sources, but it's people that are smarter than you.
Oh,
and it matters.
Far and away. Like,
so
I don't know why
I don't want you to group you in there. So
anybody smarter than her. There are a lot of people.
Oh,
I am like Coco's the sign language person to these people. They're like, oh my God, Coco, if that's so cute. You
that's
can
how
sign
you
2,000 words.
If that's who you are to them, I don't even want to know what I am to them. Okay. So I'm learning, and I love that these smart people are actually nice to me, unlike
Who are we
you.
kidding
But
though? I don't even know sign language. So Coco is already miles ahead of me.
yeah.
Yeah, they don't
So,
sign it in the alphabet. Like
well, I was saying my name. I was spelling my name. I said, "Hi, my name is," and I spelled my name. I said, "How are you?" I am
it's surprisingly hypnotic that you're doing that, and it's very sexy to watch. I wish
You're
you knew more
welcome.
than that. I wish you could sign this while we did it. But
I could, but
okay, so
I
there you
probably
go.
had trouble.
Bethany, you're already more intelligent than me because you and Coco both have it up on me. So everybody stop thinking. Everybody stop thinking that I'm a smart person. I am not. I'm just,
Beauty and brains here.
I like to have fun with history.
Oh my god.
Already. So,
Oh man.
like I
Anyway,
said, it's our responsibility to look at facts and
yes,
form our own opinions. But remember,
we're not
during
gonna.
this episode, I'm going to speculate and throw
Yes.
so much BS, like left and right throughout this story. The truth is, we just don't know. So please keep that in mind. None of this is gospel. We're just having fun today. Please don't. Anyway, it's happened. Don't cite me or this podcast ever.
I mean, you can just know that you're gonna have to make sure that you
somebody
know the
off, and it's
resources.
not in my show notes, so you can't cite the actual source it came from.
Jessica Manor said this
Aye.
at this podcast. Well, how do you know it's correct? I don't. I'll DM her and make sure it is, but you know.
That has happened. Please don't do it. Please don't do it, because then I have to direct you to who I ripped off.
Oh
I
gosh.
have to go back and get that source from that person if it is an actual primary source, and it causes a lot of problems, and I feel terrible.
There's lots of problems.
Do it. Please don't do it. I'm so worried about the American education system.
Right.
Oh, let me decline that call. Sorry, guys.
So what
are we actually talking about? We're starting with what and then who actually killed Rasputin.
Okay, so you gave me some homework, and I did.
It's gonna come up. It's gonna come up. We'll talk about it when it comes up.
I have some interesting takes on what I
I'm gonna
actually.
let you spew about your homework. There's a spew part for homework.
Okay. All right.
Give it to our audience. Well.
Okay.
So, really quickly, intro takes us to December 31st, 1916, and shit gets real in the old Russian Empire, like quick.
Yes, real.
So, a river police is wandering down the River Neva, and what does he see? A fur coat is pressed up against the frozen surface. Mr. River Police has the surface broken, dragging all of the corpses in Russia, Grigory Rasputin, to the surface.
Wait. So they find a fur coat, they find a fur coat, but at the top, just under the ice, and it's just no body.
Yeah, no body's in it.
Oh, okay.
Like back up. Bodies don't sink immediately.
I had to get him down. No, I know. And then eventually they rise to the top. Yeah, no, I know that. I just was trying to have a mental image of a guy floating face down. Okay, great. Okay, continue.
Floating face down, but it's Russia, midwinter in Petrograd, so there's ice on the River Neva. So
right.
Putin was not the most popular person in the empire come December 1916. Now, at this point, I'm going to encourage everyone to do a little cursory search and read up a little bit on Rasputin, his life, etc., because I'm not going to go super depth background dive here. So Bethany's already done her homework. correct?
I mean, a little. I did a little. I read into it, and I have tons of questions, of course. Because what I kept reading is like the more I read, the more I feel like I got confused, only because the more I read, it just felt like was this guy real? It seems like he's an actual person, but
Very real person.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Is like it's made as the more I went along, it made me actually start to question: is this an actual person? Was everybody hallucinating? Was everybody on LSD? I don't know, but I'm like, how are they seeing this person? But yet he did all these things, and then it just feels like he just poof. Like, is he real? Is he? I mean,
It's banana bonkers. Like you can really go down a rabbit
it
hole.
really was like weird. Like I started getting creeped out. I was like, wait, I started questioning myself. Like, wait, should I go back? Like, is this a conspiracy of a person? Like, I just, I lost it.
Person is very real.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right, exactly. He went poof one night and was just gone. So all the things you read, I hate to say, like largely for the most part, some of it's documentable. Some of it you can document, some of it you can't. Some of it's hearsay, some of it's like secondhand sources from back in the day. He is the most banana bonkers like person that's ever existed in history. So if you want to deep dive all this though, really quickly, let me go ahead and throw a shout out to Outlandish Historians podcast. They did a great end of the Romanov series, so that's going to give you some context about what all was going on. And then, do not knock it, but Last Podcast on the Left did a fantastic series primarily about the life of Grigory Rasputin.
Oh, okay.
And it is absolutely fantastic. Bethany, I'll send you the link to it. You should definitely listen to him.
I got
on Spotify
all the time. You got all the time. Yeah,
it's a 5-part series. That's why I'll never do Rasputin. I think they absolutely killed it, actually, and it's a lot of fun. It's a comedy podcast, but I think they did the work, and ended up really, really good. There are so many books as well about the subject. I'm not gonna plug them because they're not paying me, so they didn't. I don't.
And when they do, we will
look into. When I do, I will. But go find whatever tickles your fancy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a body count homework assignment this week.
Yeah.
We're sorry.
Sorry. And if you really want to do a shortcut, honestly, if the reason why Rasputin kind of sounds familiar, it's because it is a Disney movie.
Yeah, don't take that shortcut then.
Yeah, because the description I read, I was like, wait, what? I don't remember the movie either, but I need to watch it. I want to watch it.
Nothing I just read is real.
Again, conspiracy theory. Disney made their own version, just like they did Pocahontas. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right.
That's all I'm gonna say.
It's one thing to like change a fairy tale. It's another thing to change history. So it's quite disturbing. Especially under the name of Walt Disney, a man who received a medal from Hitler. So
we're just gonna mic drop that right there.
Mic drop that. So maybe you shouldn't let Disney change history for you, or create caricatures of like people.
I love Disney.
Caricatures. There we go. I can get that word out.
Character. Oh my god. Oh my god. I can't even do it.
I don't even know if I'm saying it right anymore. So there we are.
I think you are. I just can't do it. Okay.
It is what it is. Nonetheless,
yes.
I feel like I would be remiss if I did not do the briefest of rundown, guys. Like rundowns as far as I'm not going to take it back to like emperors before emperors leading up to Nicholas II and then tell you about Rasputin. I know that's normally my style. I'm not going to do it this time. So I'm thinking anyone still listening at this point and not pausing to read has at least a cursory knowledge of Grigory Rasputin. If not, that's okay. You're just probably not gonna be winning that yellow little pie piece in Trivial Pursuit tonight.
That pie piece gets me every time. Every
That's
time. But I'm getting better.
pie
I'm
piece.
getting better. I am getting better. So
See,
thanks
I
to
always
you.
lose entertainment. I can lock down arts and literature,
Oh,
history, science. No, I can entertainment. I'm done. I'm not ever winning Trivial Pursuit because
we should
if
play.
it
We
has,
should
like,
play team up. We should do teams.
we really should. That's what we're gonna do. Maybe you and I will find somebody to play Trivial Pursuit with us, like this week, and that's what we'll do. Because it's always really fun.
Yes.
And I get very, very serious.
Right. Well, it's
So,
a game. Well,
no, it's not a game. It's not a game to me. Jumping in. Gregory Rasputin was, quote, the holy, or at least that's like the easiest way for me to put it, if that makes sense, advisor to the Tsar and Tsarina of Russia, Nicholas II and Alexandra. Now, these two believed Rasputin to be blessed with almost magical or like miracle working powers.
Right.
I could describe it.
It felt like that. Honestly, that when I was doing my digging, it felt like he had some. He was a wizard.
Kinda.
Wizard Rasputin. No, sorry.
Get to that. But they believe this for a very good reason, or as noble a reason as you can credit two parents. Rasputin, for whatever reason, and this is what we talk about with the wizard, was able to give even temporary relief to Tsar Nicholas's only son, Alexei, who suffered from hemophilia.
Yes.
So
hemophilia. Yeah.
Right. And
right.
To cure a clotting disease that almost certainly spelled certain death in 1916 is pretty. I don't know how he did it. Nobody knows how he did it. There's a lot of speculation. Not important. He did seem magical, though, because he's the only one that could.
Right. And hey, and again, if you don't know who we're talking about, go back to our Romanov series. It's out there. You should listen.
Wrong, Alexei. That's Alexei the First.
Oh.
This is at the
we technically haven't. See, technically we haven't got there. Oh.
Yeah, no, we haven't got there. We started with the Romanovs. He's named Alexei because of Alexei Mikhailovich.
I thought, oh my God, when I was reading this, I was like, oh my God, I know who that is. Wow. Okay. Alexei. No, I don't know.
There's a lot of Alexis.
I forget everybody's name the same.
Alexei is very, very important to the empire because only a son can inherit at this point. And there's going to be, go look into it. Go down the Romanov road. We don't have time today. So the Emperor Nicholas II and the Empress Alexandra, as a result, viewed Rasputin as like a legit man of God. And as such, he became a close friend and confidant of the two, right?
Oh, okay.
So now, despite how fond of Rasputin the royal family may have been, the other Russian VIPs were not so fond of Rasputin. He was not their fave person. Not at all. And for myriad reasons. Like I said, I'm not going to break it all down. We're trying to play like a historical forensic files here today, if that makes any sense. And I haven't even finished my first Romanov. I haven't finished my first Romanov series. I'm not unofficially launching a second. I'm not going to do it today. So suffice to say, many people viewed Rasputin as kind of a two-bit con man that was actively trying to manipulate affairs of state, if that makes sense.
Yeah, he had everybody believe sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. He had good charm. He had good, maybe he was a vampire who had mind compulsion. I don't know. I'm just saying, he was good at it. He's good at it.
Interesting dude. But most people believe he's a charlatan, a sex pest, and basically a potential usurper, and that he was bending the royals to his will. A pervert, a sex pest. I know what you're hung up on already. Sorry.
I was like, what? But no, okay, all right. Yeah, no, I get it. Okay.
They're really worried about that he's, the puppet master for Nicholas and Alexandra, pulling all the strings within the court. So he had his own brand of orthodoxy, which has gotten more than one head lopped off in Russia, let me tell you. He Weinsteined all the women who came to him for help.
Wait. Oh my God.
I'm sorry, I didn't
It
know
took
we
me a
weren't
second. That actually took me a second. I was like, wait, did she say Weinstein? All the women.
We're not
Oh my
using
God.
Harvey Weinstein as a verb yet. Have we not progressed to that point in this country?
Too soon?
Too
No,
soon?
it's
You
not
got
funny.
it.
Again, it's one of
But
those
it
things
painted a
where you have,
picture, didn't it?
yes.
You know exactly what he's up to now.
Mm, it's like the
And
top antler of,
yeah, so then he basically told the Tsar how to rule as well. Then World War I breaks out, and what better countrywide, scapegoat could exist than the weird wizard man? And he was blamed for everything that went wrong in Russia.
Oh gosh.
Now, Russians were convinced that Rasputin was actually a German agent. A lot of Russians were, not all of them. And that's what's, going to be the simplest terms in Russia, like of what was going on, simplest terms, when this body is spotted in the water. That's exactly where we were at.
Agent man. Secret German agent man.
So that's what's going on. That's where we're
Yes.
at. We're in the middle of the First World War. Now,
Mhm.
back to December 31st.
Why does everything? Oh, sorry. Why does everything happen in December? Why? Everything. Like, think about it.
Because Merle Haggard told it.
And like this, and then the flood, the fires. Like,
it's because Merle Haggard told us if we make it through December, everything's going to be all right. But
well, 2020 has proven that wrong. Well, I like that side eye you just gave me. You were like,
it was a little bit of a side eye. I'm sorry.
Okay, so December 31st.
December 31st, they jimmy this corpse out of the ice. It looks like Rasputin. They take him to Chizmitsky Hospice for the post-mortem wrap-up. Which, by the way, Bethany, like in hindsight, we should have named this show the post-mortem wrap-up instead of body count, which I've never looked at Urban Dictionary in my life. And until we started this show, I didn't know that people didn't use it in the traditional news sense.
Yeah, so, the more you know.
More you know. There's a reason it's in stars and rainbows.
Oh gosh. Okay. So, yes.
So, autopsy is performed by Professor Dmitry Kosortov. Kosortov? I think that's how you say it. I don't know. Paul will correct me if I'm just completely off.
I see Kosorotov. That's what I see. Kosorotov.
Sure.
Oh, I see. Oh, hold on. Kosortov. Kosortov? Kosortov. I bet you were pronouncing too many letters. I'm just saying.
Well, it always happens.
Yeah.
Slavic languages. I don't
ask me. You're going to be better at it than I am.
So, rumors about the death of Rasputin were already spreading like wildfire in Petrograd. Mm-hmm. And I mean, there are rumors flying around everyone. This is all anyone is talking about. Like, people are treating this murder like a post-prom brunch, only instead of Melissa sleeping with Brad, a czar's dead spiritual advisor is being chipped out of the ice like beer out of a hillbilly's Yeti. Best way I can describe it.
Who left the beer? Who left the beer overnight?
That's a post-prom brunch in Russia, just so we all know. Like, that's what they do for fun. It's like, oh, did you see that body? Yeah, totes.
I should have gone to prom in Russia. What was I thinking?
What were we all? I think we have a great time. Then the who, what, when, where, why. Mm-hmm. The main idea in my hand. Sorry, listeners, you can't see it, but I'm having main idea fun.
Nerd.
We're
Oh.
almost immediately confused, though. Like who, what, when, where, why. Immediately confused. Is one of the murders. Prince Felix Yusupov was skipping around town telling everyone, yeah, I totally did it. Went down at my house, too.
Oh my God, you guys, guess what? Guess what? It was me.
Like, that guy wouldn't have lasted 2 seconds on the wire because he's just like out and about town. So Rasputin is killed in Yusupov's palace. Yusupov is running around town shouting from the rooftops that he did it. And while he's shouting, I did it, he's also doing like some kind of weird PSA about why he did it.
Well,
if that makes
wow.
sense. It's a lot of like, let me paraphrase it in millennial speak. Yeah, brah, I killed him. And people are all like, why?
Why?
And then he's like, because he was totally bad for Russia, bro. Like,
Nah, he was a bad guy, so I killed him. Duh.
or whatever the Russian equivalent of that conversation was in 1916. I'm sure it was very angry, very
Yes.
passionate.
Yes,
So,
but still.
Yusupov spreads the story that he poisoned Rasputin with an oldie but a goodie, cyanide. Now, supposedly, when that didn't work, Yusupov shot him through the heart, which, based on all of Russian history, guys, is actually not considered overkill. No one soaked him in vodka, made a bonfire in the Red Square, or wore his skin. You know, listen to our Romanov series.
Or chopped him up in pieces and strung him up all through the city.
And made like popcorn strings of person. Listen to our Romanov series. Please do it.
I'll never
and you're
get over
gonna call a little poisoning and shooting progress. Let me tell you, 110%. Pure progress.
I give that an okay. We are doing better.
I give that a check mark in Russian history. Just saying.
I'm like crying right now.
We will never let the popcorn. Nobody's cutleting and eating small children. We're doing pretty good in old Romanov Russia in 1960.
I'm crying because I'm proud. I'm just proud of the progress.
I'm proud of them. Don't be too proud, because once we get to the autopsy, we're gonna see it lit Russian.
Where Romanov's punishment really has not died. So cool, awesome.
Nope, still Romanov Russia. Yusupov's own words, or close enough, guys. Remember, I'm lazy and not my thing. He rushed at me, trying to get at my throat, and sank his fingers into my shoulder like steel claws. His eyes were bursting from their sockets. Blood oozed from his lips, which is like a real basic bitch Saturday night in Russia, I imagine. Like, that's what everybody's doing at their party. That's like how the parties end. Or at least it was when the Romanovs were in charge.
Gosh.
I can't imagine it changed too much for Stalin.
No.
I mean, he was doing that. Like, that's his Saturday. So, basic bitch Saturday on
basic. I was gonna say typical white girl Saturday is what I was gonna say,
white girl Saturday, but I'm gonna use bitch so as not to offend anyone. Too late. But there is some reason to doubt Yusupov's tale straight out of the gate. So the professor, host of the Rasputin postmortem wrap-up that we gabbed about earlier, noted the corpse was mutilated AF. Now, there we go. Now we're back in Romanov, Russia. Mutilated corpses. Be glad in this case it's just one, like the World War notwithstanding, but just one. So we're already doing way better than we usually do when we go to Russia. So
I was still feeling proud, but not so proud, but okay. All right.
It's gonna hit some very familiar territory here in a minute. So left eye is mutilated by something that slices, like a sword that the professor notes, and the right eye is not even in the socket. Furthermore, Rasputin's right ear is partially disconnected and torn. He has some kind of neck wound that appears, at least to Professor Postmortem, to be some kind of ligature mark. Specifically, a rope appears to have been around Rasputin's neck at some point. The corpse also showed signs of some kind of blunt force trauma, is the best that I could get it down to, or at least how I understood it. That the body shows signs of taking some significant blows with a hard object. And I believe is what, like, again, guys, we all know that my Russian leaves very much to be desired, but beaten, basically. Do that. Now, listeners will remember from our previous Time of Troubles into the Romanov series that it's not a political hit in Russia until genital mutilation gets thrown in the mix. So it turns out Rasputin was to suffer the same. Now, while several parts of the body showed blunt force trauma, it was especially noted by Professor Postmortem. At some point, it seems people held him down and crushed his testicles with the same instrument that was actually used to beat the man. So we are officially back in Romanov Russia, listeners.
Alive? Like, they did that when he was alive?
All of this has occurred while he's alive. So, Professor Kosortov documented all of that and more, but the rest of it is a lot of senseless gore. So know that worse things happened to this man.
Thank you. Please don't share. I'm
not going to share. It even got a little too gratuitous for me. So we get the point. Yusupov's story is falling apart.
Right.
About, everything. But most interesting, and this is, it's something that's really attached to the narrative of Rasputin. The poison cake story appears to be all BS, as the autopsy found no traces of poison in Rasputin's stomach. Now, who really knows, because this is a postmortem on a half-frozen corpse in 1916 Russia. But conversely, I would also argue that this is the Tsar's spiritual advisor. I would have thought they would have taken some pretty great care. This is not like some street urchin they dug out of the ice.
Unless a lot of people really did hate him.
You don't know, but I'm going to say this guy wasn't just an MD. He was a professor. I'm going to say, cards on the table, he's going to do a good job, if that makes sense. Just because that's his job. And it's not about bias. It's about the forensics. It's about actually...
Right. Like, what is actually
doing
found.
To it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Take it all with a grain of salt. Take it for real. I think that he would have done a very good job, personally. I think that Nicholas II would have made sure that somebody did a very good job. But that's me personally.
It feels that he would. He did everything else.
When I read this, at the end of the day, I don't know. I'm not a forensics expert, so I don't even know if it was well done. I assumed it was because multiple people have continued to study it, so I don't think it was a bad job.
Right.
But we move on to the more intriguing bits of the autopsy. So there were 3 bullet wounds in Rasputin's corpse. On top of all that other stuff, we've got 3 bullet wounds.
Overkill. Jesus.
It's Romanov Russia. Hey, we didn't burn a body. We didn't wear skin. We didn't need it. We're already doing better than we were.
True.
So,
I forgot about the skin.
I'm sad to say,
oh, God.
It's true. We didn't make popcorn bits of people. We didn't wear their skin. We're doing really good. So bullet number 1 entered left side of the chest and rattles down into like the stomach and liver. Lodges there. So the second bullet entered the right side of the back and exits left side through the kidneys. Now, this gets interesting with bullet number 3, though. 1 and 2, while those are really rough wounds in 1916 for sure, the coup de grace is actually bullet number 3, as it entered through the forehead and like waltzed its way into the brain. So Professor Kosortov noted another very significant tidbit. All the bullets came from different caliber guns.
So 3 different people.
None of the 3 different people maybe not even three.
I mean,
different people,
already at least
three
2.
different guns. 3 different guns at very least.
I mean, you could have one person could have 2 different. That's a possibility.
That could be. It's a
But
possibility.
I feel like the angles. It feels
I
like
think he was
3,
probably
at
on
least
his
2.
knees. He was at least on his knees for the angles. Does that make
And
sense?
there was
Coming
3
in
people surrounding him. Bang, bang, bang. Like
that's what I'm imagining, just because of the angles. And he was a big man, so he was a really big man, Rasputin was. So he had to have been for the angles to match up, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That's what
Considering everything that happened to him, I'm surprised he's still upright. So that takes us right up.
I mean, yeah. Holy crap.
God, right?
Oh my God. I'm sorry. I just had sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I just realized at this point he's on his knees and he has
die.
He's just been mutilated, right? He just had his genitals mutilated and strangled, or not his. I mean, his throat strangled.
No, there was some. There were marks.
I mean,
all of that was post-mortem. That was before death.
Slices his eyeball is just like not even in its socket anymore.
One's out of the socket. One's cut. Ears cut off. And there's worse things that occurred to the body. So yeah.
And he's just sitting there on his knees. Oh my God.
Yeah. So all of that horribleness takes us right up to and into the land of conspiracy. Now, the rest of the story, I'm going to go ahead and warn everybody, is a complete freaking mess. So let us speculate, because let's face it, we're all bored AF right now.
Right.
Lots of fun time. Let's go down this weird rabbit hole that I went down.
I got
our bunny ears. We've got our bunny ears, guys. We're rabbiting. So, in the face of all of Yusupov's BS, the fact is that Rasputin was murdered. We do know that.
Yes, that's obvious.
The mill is churning. But interestingly enough, what's the word on the street that most people are like gabbing about? That an agent of the British Secret Intelligence Service actually did it, or gave us the killing blow, if you will. That is who at least fired the shot. Now, we're going to look at all the evidence for and against this, in my opinion, rather silly theory that just will not die. It will not die. It's one of those things that's out there and around.
Like a reoccurring thing?
Everybody and their dog wants to write a book about it every other year. I don't understand it that the British did it.
Okay.
Here's my thing. I would think that if the British did it, like all of the rest of that would have been overkill. It just doesn't seem like
it does feel overkill. Like it really does.
Like, just kill him and be done with it. Like,
right. They did everything else, but maybe the overkill is there because of the fact that he was not able to die. That's the thing. Like, maybe that's the case. Is like they did all this stuff and he still would not die. Is he really like that kind of person?
Well, think about in murder investigations today. All of that overkill seems to be somebody that a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing.
Okay.
And I would think that a British intelligence officer set to assassinate somebody isn't going to mess around. They're just going to shoot them.
They're going to have to know. They should know. At this
just
point,
going to kill him and be done. Yeah. But like the playing with your food element, one suggests anger to me, and two also suggests people that maybe weren't super used to just executing somebody.
Right. Maybe they're trying to get information, and that's where the whole torture. I mean, but what information
we don't have to look
at
him? Well, I'm thinking more if we don't have to look at him and we just beat him, maybe we'll accidentally kill him, or maybe we'll accidentally do this, and it just keeps piling on and piling on. Going. Efficient.
Right. Yes.
They're not coming at it like Bundy. They're not like here to do business.
Oh, okay. All right. I guess maybe it's because I was on that track of mine. Maybe that's where I was going, because it felt like I mean, obviously it's intentional. That's why they did it, So maybe I was just going down a different track. So
I would
no,
think
that
if the
makes
British
sense. It makes
sent
sense.
somebody to kill Rasputin,
Mhm,
they
mhm.
just do it and be
And
done.
just be done. No, I'm with you. I get it. I understand that.
Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
no,
Yeah. So
yeah.
all of this overkill already screams to me. It's absolutely silly. But let's look at some fun sources, evidence, and let's see how all this stuff can get twisted into everybody's
Yeah.
stupid book narrative every other year. So,
Mhm.
Dmitry Kostoratov, who did the initial autopsy, the chief
Okay.
prosecutor of Petrograd at the time of the murder, and Dr. Vladimir Sorov.
Zaharov. Because you have Zaharov. Yeah. Hey, look at that. Zaharov. Maybe I'm wrong. Well, I'm probably. So we're gonna go with that. I like it. We're going with it.
I have to practice them. We're going. Paul will tell us how wrong we are. Paul will tell me how wrong I am. God bless him.
Well,
Which, by the way, I love on Twitter the other day in the nicest way possible. He told me to listen to a linguistics lecture specifically about Slavic languages, which is the nicest way in the world to tell somebody, like, get your shit together.
That is amazing. We'll have to plug that. We will have to find a way to go to that.
Really,
I want to learn.
It was great.
Absolutely.
No, we will plug it. We'll put it on the social media. So
Zaharov.
this guy, Zaharov, is a Russian forensic expert that re-examined the remaining evidence in 93. Not one of these guys could determine the caliber or make of the gun from which that third bullet was fired. Remember, ultimately, the third bullet is what does kill him.
Yes, because obviously you can't just shoot somebody in the forehead and they survive. But you did say waltz its way into his brain, so that makes me wonder: did it take a while to get there?
But to be fair, if the guy at the time, the chief of police, and then a guy that re-examined the evidence in 1993, it suggests that maybe it's not a super familiar make or caliber gun in Russia.
Rare, something that's rare or old or not, or something too new.
Something that is not in common existence in Russia in 1916, which we're going to get to that.
Okay, cool.
Whatever it is,
but they do know that
couldn't determine a caliber or make.
Okay, but they do know that the other two, because you said there's three there's three shotguns, and the other two are guns. They just can't figure out what the third one is. But obviously, it's not.
I'm not going to go into all the forensics of that. I mean, they've got a pocket Browning, and I can't remember the other name of the other gun that they're pretty sure made the other two shots, and they would have been available for pocket carry or in the home, maybe.
I just want to apologize. Sorry, I just want to apologize real quick if there's some background noise. It's 11 o'clock where we are, and my husband, who's working from home, it's his lunch break, and I don't know if you heard noise in the background or
people moving around, dogs. I mean, people know we're at home.
We're at home. I'm trying to keep it, but it's the sound. I just want everybody to know that would be my husband who's taking his lunch,
and that's okay.
And then he's going to go back and do his thing. So I just heads up. People will be like, "What was that?
What are they doing? Why are they
happening? What's going on?"
Unable to determine caliber make.
What
That's
is
where we
that?
are.
No, I get that.
Actual killing shot. So there have been a few recent studies, however. Two professionals. We're going to use that term. I don't know how professional. I didn't really look into it. Forgive me, everyone. Intelligence historian Andrew Cook and former Metropolitan Police Commander Richard Cullen feel that they've identified the gun based on a re-examination of remaining evidence. They seem fairly above board, like they would be experts in the field. But again, That's why I say take all this with a grain of salt. This occurred in 1916, and we don't have anything to actually look at. Now, they claim that based on the evidence that's left, that the grazing around the entry wound on Rasputin's forehead is consistent with a lead non-jacketed bullet fired at point blank range, which heavily suggests a revolver, right? Something that you can tote, put to somebody's head, done and done. Now, these two gentlemen are confident that based on the evidence that they've seen, that the fatal shot was delivered by a .455 Webley revolver. Now, why is this important? This revolver was the standard issue sidearm for British troops during the First World War.
Oh, wow.
Now, this led Cook and Cullen to assume that the shooter was indeed British. But let's look at the case against the British before we run with that. I've got some more fun stuff to look at. But let's go ahead and look at the case against the British, or particularly one Englishman.
Okay.
So did you follow all that? Did that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, no, it just kind of painted a really heavy picture. Like you said point blank range. It just feels like, when you find terrorism, like, you've seen the movies where they like get them and you just sit there on their knees and like
somebody
courage
got
and
like the cojones to execute the guy and just be done with it.
Right, just be done with it. And it's just crazy. And they finally figured out and narrowed it down.
Maybe like somebody that's, I don't know. It suggests a lot of things. It's fun. So,
and for you to say, the British troops, it has to be a British person. I'm like, but
no, it doesn't. We're going to get to why. You're exactly right.
But does it?
That's
like
the conclusion these two guys, but it doesn't have to. You're exactly right. Does it?
Does it?
Let's build the case for the English, and then we'll destroy it. So, not too long after the murder most foul. German agents cabled Berlin from Stockholm that they had heard through the grapevine, aka heavy quotes on a good authority, that a young Englishman had been at Yusupov's that night for the murder party, for lack of a better term. So another communication to the King of Bulgaria placed an Englishman in the car that drove off to dump Rasputin's body.
Oh, fun.
But you can refute this fairly easily, as the Germans, along with many a rightist kind of Russian, were positive that Rasputin was murdered by the English, right? They were pretty heavily biased, in other words. So it's in the German best interest to immediately put the shit out there to make Russia, specifically the Tsar, not trust the British and go ahead and still sue for a separate peace with Germany, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well,
so it's in the best interest. So automatically, you can't take that as anything. So
no. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. There was a rumor rocking around that Rasputin, again, was advocating for a separate peace with Germany, which was far from Britain's best interest. Britain needed Russia to stay in the war, and the Germans and some Russians viewed this as the perfect motive for murdering Rasputin, the supposed voice of German peace. We don't even know how true any of that is.
No, I mean, who knows?
Again,
it sounds good, I guess. I mean, it sounds like a good plan, but did it work?
We also have to look how steeped in bias this is. Like, how convenient for Germany, who is currently at war with the British. And really like Russia to go ahead and drop on out of the war, if that makes sense.
I didn't even think of that. That's not even where my mind was like thinking. Like, there's way too many possibilities in this.
Oh, we're playing spies in disguise here. So August of 1916.
No wonder I got confused.
A Russian foreign affairs minister had remarked to Empress Alexandra that the British were prepping to knock off Rasputin. Now, based on some communiques from the British ambassador to Russia, Sir George Buchanan, indicate that he had heard of a plot not too long before the murder. He remarked that he had heard from a friend of a friend that some Russian officers were going to like ice Rasputin before the new year, right? However, he names no names in these communiques. How convenient.
So my friends, sisters, cousins, twice removed aunt and uncle told me that they talked to their friend's sister's brother's cousin that this was about to happen. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. I went a little crazy, but it just feels. That's why I said it got confusing. That's why I said, I was like, dude, this feels. The more I read, the more I was like, wait, what is happening? Like, I don't get it.
It doesn't seem real, but
it really doesn't. It really doesn't.
At some point, it all was real. Like there was
yeah,
a Rasputin.
No, I get that. No, I obviously get that part, but I'm like, the story is about who he was just doesn't seem real. It just doesn't.
Everything around this guy, though, is just like a cluster like that. Every single thing is shrouded in something like this. And I'm like, who is this guy? Like, what
are you? Who are you?
Who are you?
For real. Now, no, yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Based on what we just heard, this only indicates that the British ambassador Buchanan had possibly prior knowledge that a murder was to take place. Okay. But there is absolutely nothing to suggest anywhere
that it was going to happen.
The ambassador had anything to do with it.
Oh, so he maybe had a inkling.
He didn't even have a set date. He had just heard from a friend of a friend through some of the younger Grand Dukes in the court that some Russian officers were going to make a move against Rasputin before the new year. Well,
but he didn't do anything about it. But he didn't do anything about it, right? Is that
true? What do you want him to do? He told somebody. He communicated the intelligence.
He's that guy that's like, when it actually happens, he's like, oh yeah, I heard something like that could happen. I wondered when, but now I know.
Well, that's exactly it.
I mean, I'm sorry. He's that guy. He's the
worst thing for the British if Rasputin dies, but it's not necessarily like they're not going to take the trouble, for God's sake. It's still going to be
I mean, it doesn't hurt him. It doesn't benefit him. So it's like,
yeah, I heard of that might happen. Like at the end of the day, that's exactly
what am I going to do? Is it real? Is it not? I don't know.
So on December 20th, a newspaper called The Russian Word came out with a very interesting little story. So this is the beginning of some fake news in Russia. They claimed Rasputin had hired Scotland Yard agents to work along with Russian secret police to protect Rasputin against a plot of which he was aware shortly before his death. So this is a freaking newspaper in Russia. Now, supposedly these agents were paid off by Yusupov to stand guard outside while Rasputin was actually murdered. And believe it or not, the British head of intelligence in Russia, Samuel Orr, sent a wire the day the article appeared asking if this was true and what were the name of the agents. Now, no reply was forthcoming, and we can heavily assume that's because there were no such agents present, because it's absolutely ridiculous. And I hear so many people point at this article, and I'm just like, dear God, like, that's not what Scotland Yard fucking does, okay? So let's lay that to bed.
One article does not make it true.
Oh, tell that to the rest of the world. So, Kors did suspect that Russian rightists were eager to pin the crime on the British, however, and he suspected that he was the target. So, Ambassador Buchanan requested an audience with the Tsar to dispel any such rumors.
Right.
Now, Buchanan recorded that through German agents, the Tsar had heard that the British were not only investigating the murder, but that English officers had participated.
Oh, snap. Okay.
But that's coming to the Tsar from the Germans. So what do we know about anything we're taking from the Germans right now?
Yeah.
Germany and Britain are at war, and
Especially
technically
at this
Russia
time.
is also at war with Germany. So
So they're going to feed them
anything that we hear from German intelligence
You never
is
know.
like,
You don't know. Yeah.
we
It's
don't
like,
know.
take it with a grain of salt. No, I get it.
Exactly.
No.
See what I mean by what I said about get your bunny ears on, rabbit hole time. So then Buchanan also recorded that he assured the Tsar that no such thing had taken place. But again, isn't that what you would do? But
Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Everybody, everything is fine. Look away.
Importantly, Tsar Nicholas reported to Ambassador Buchanan that the name he had heard bandied about in relation to the murder was not Samuel Hoare or not he himself, but in fact, one Oswald Rayner. Now,
Okay. Who's that?
Why would this?
That's a new
We're
person.
getting to it.
Okay.
He's a new person. Why would this story have gained traction and been so alive in so many people's minds, despite the very many holes in the story?
There's like gaps. There's so many things that are missing right now. So that's where my confusion comes in. Yeah.
So,
okay.
What's the case for this unyet mentioned British officer, Oswald Rayner's involvement? Now, Oswald Rayner attended Oxford University, and it just so happens that while at Oxford, he made a lifelong friend there. Can you guess who?
Sorry. No, sorry. I'm being childish. Oswald went to Oxford. Sorry. Oswald went to Oxford. Okay, so he made a friend. Who would he be his friend?
So this British nerd made friends with this Russian.
He meant a nerd friend.
Made a nerd friend. Lifelong friend. Prince Felix Yusupov. Spaghetti-O. The guy who's claiming responsibility for the murder and whose palace it went down at. Now, Rayner known each other, for a long time. Now, Rayner did indeed arrive in Petrograd in 1915, so about a year before the murder, to take up a post in the British intelligence service, where he rekindled his friendship with Yusupov. Of course, they got closer over the following year, meeting often in the autumn of 1916. Okay. So this is the season before he's ultimately murdered in December, right? Okay. But here's the thing. By this time, Rayner was no longer in the employ of the British intelligence service. Oh, okay. So there exists a list of active agents that's dated December 11th, 1916, and that does not include Oswald Rayner's name. And Buchanan also reported this to Tsar Nicholas. Okay, but he's still there, even though he's not recorded. He's kicking around Petrograd. He's still working not on paper, in military service. No, he's still working in military service. He's not working for British intelligence, which you would think something like an assassination would fall under. But we're gonna get to some different stuff here. But is he like? I mean, maybe it's just there. Like he down. Is in Petrograd. Okay, it may not have been written down. He may be super secret. I don't know that much about the British intelligence service prior to World War II. I'm sorry, guys. Me neither. I didn't exactly do the heavy-duty homework this week. Well, but still, I mean, but here's the thing. Even if you did, I think that it would take a lot longer for you to find what you're looking for because of the fact that it is a giant rabbit hole. Well, I'm going to say that based on the books and the number of people that have gone down this rabbit hole, it does not exist. So, okay. Which is fair. So, come at me, brah. No, So this takes Yusupov's rather sticky memoirs that he wrote later in life, which 100% take these with a grain of salt. Now, Yusupov wrote that he had indeed told Rayner of the conspiracy and that Rayner had come to see Yusupov on the night of the 17th to learn how things had gone down, you know? Right. Or yes. How things were going to go down. Yeah. They had been kicking information. Yeah. They had been talking about it. So, right. Buchanan recorded that he reported to the Tsar that Rayner had assured him that Rayner, knew nothing of the plot.
Well, technically he didn't, though, right? Or no?
Technically, I mean, you could have thought Yusupov was awful.
He could, but we don't know.
Yusupov, maybe.
We know he doesn't, right?
That's Yusupov's memoirs, which are they're already so full of inaccuracies and bullshit. Anyway, I don't know.
Yes, correct.
Don't
yeah.
know
Anyway, yeah.
New.
Mm-hmm.
So Buchanan recorded that he reported to the Tsar all of that shit. Rayner has nothing to do with it. Furthermore, Ambassador Buchanan assured Nicholas II that assassination was a crime, quote, held in abomination by the British people.
Okay.
You know, unless
I mean, yeah.
Unless it suits their will. You know, I don't know.
I have to agree. Otherwise, you done.
They certainly didn't have a problem imperializing most of the world. I really doubt they would shy away from pulling the trigger if it were in their best interest. But what do I know? And I don't even believe this. I'm just saying, okay.
Cough. Okay. Again. Sure.
Okay.
Okay, so where are we? I don't know where we're at.
Nicholas,
right?
Nicholas confirmed again that he had indeed heard Rayner's name mentioned more than once and thanked Ambassador Buchanan for the information before reporting that an investigation into the murder was kicking off.
Okay.
So Vladimir Parishkovich, yes.
Parishkovich, like that's Parishkovich.
Vladimir Parishkovich.
So country. Wow. Okay. Sorry, that's Parishkovich.
We have got to do Slavic languages. So Vladimir Parishkovich, another for sure member of the murder party, because it was an actual party in which murder occurred. He informed Samuel Hoare, the head of British intelligence in Petrograd, of the plot in early December 1916. So one of the guys we know was there the night it went down tells the head of British intelligence in early December, and, you know, Rasputin's killed late December, that, we're going to do this.
You want to be in my gang, my gang, my gang.
And again, I don't know how verifiable all of this shit is, but
did it go? Did it happen? Did they do it? Like,
there is some questionable proof that the British did at least know of the conspiracy.
Okay. All right.
But did they hatch the plot? I mean, but again, not their country, not their rodeo, not their show. Like,
hair flips, not my problem.
Okay, not my problem. All right, you're gonna assassinate a guy that's talking about peace with Germany. Like, don't let us stop you. But it doesn't mean
have fun with that one.
Endorsed it. It doesn't mean that we carried out. It's certainly not proof that they hatched a plot, planned it, helped carry it out. There's no proof that this was the case at the end of the day. And that's what makes this it's what makes it such a fun and enduring history mystery. There is an interesting document or two floating out there in relation to that .455 Webley revolver. Not the specific one. We don't know what specific one we're looking for. But let us assume that the recent experts are even correct, right? That they're even correct, and that it was a Webley that was the actual instrument of death. We don't even know that. So in the state archives,
seem pretty sure. They seem pretty sure.
But that's like two guys out of however many have looked at this crap, and still. So in the state archives in Russia, there exists a document stating that a Lieutenant Colonel Polyakov was issued a .455 Webley revolver. Now, why is this important? He's got nothing to do with what's going on in Petrograd, right? He was issued this in 1917. But it is proof that the English weren't the only fellas wandering around Petrograd toting this particular kind of gun at the time.
It broadens the spectrum of people that could have done
That
it.
could have carried, exactly. It was also, it's proof that it was also being issued to some, at least some Russian military. Now,
Right.
all of the paperwork from that time is super sketchy. I'm happy to have this, but it does prove that it was very possible for a Russian to be carrying a 455 Webley as it was for a British officer.
Right.
So, I mean, a Russian could have just as easily pulled the trigger, is what this indicates. It's not a smoking gun.
Right, and if that runs the spectrum of how many people could have gotten a hold of or have been issued, that even makes the possibility of somebody else robbing a house. It just, the possibilities could just be endless at this point, where you can't even narrow it down. Yeah, you can't even narrow it down.
It's a really ridiculous jump to try.
Agreed.
In my opinion, and be like, oh, this is the smoking
about
gun.
A giant, like, the little rabbit holes. This is where it's like the rabbit hole has now became a crater inside of a crater.
Yeah,
I'm like, whoa, hold on. So, I mean, you don't know.
Whoa. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All of that said, all the cases, points we just made, there's also a few interesting tidbits that pop up in relation to Oswald Rayner. Now, a letter written by a Captain Stephen Alley, then with the British Military Control Department in Petrograd, is pretty interesting. The letter is addressed to an officer of the British Intelligence Service named John Scale and reads as follows. Dear Scale, although matters have not proceeded entirely to plan, our objective has clearly been achieved. Reaction to the demise of, and I'm quoting, dark forces has been well received, although a few awkward questions have already been asked about wider involvement. Rayner is attending to those loose ends and will no doubt brief you on your return. Okay. That all being said, there are many, many questions that arise as to this letter's authenticity.
Yeah, because that's also really vague.
It's really vague, but it's also like really, I would think, a no-no that you would write to somebody in the intelligence service. Like, here we go. Suggest you did it. There's a lot of questions, and people always point to this letter and like whip it out and get really exciid, right? But I personally
history
feel
history forensic jizz all over this letter.
So, like I said, there's a lot of questions about its authenticity to me and to many other people. But let's say that it's true. Let's say that it is authentic.
I mean,
or maybe not. At very least, it kind of points to British, namely Rayner's, involvement. But it doesn't outline the extent or the activities in question. Hoare and Rayner undoubtedly, I mean, with use of
they had something. They knew something.
They had some knowledge of the
plot. They knew something. I mean, honestly, even if you wanted to say, hey, this letter is code, break it down. Look at the code of, I mean, it's
not their country, not their rodeo, not their citizen,
not their problem,
not their purview. Exactly, not their problem. So, they probably wouldn't have said no, don't kill him, but
right, but still,
and then maybe even would have gone so far as to offer a little bit of counsel about how to go about it.
Okay.
But actually pulling the trigger, I think, is absolutely ridiculous.
No, I agreed. No, yeah.
There's no proof.
I think maybe, like you said, I knew somebody who knew somebody who was willing to do it. I don't know. I mean,
and Yusupov running into the streets and whipping all this up immediately after it was done. Like, there's no chance of there's no chance of any kind of real story at that point coming out to me at all either.
No, that makes sense. Like, where's the proof of that? If that actually happened, then where's the proof?
Exactly. Yeah. That's the problem, though. And that's
there's no proof.
History. There is no proof. There is no incontrovertible proof against it. That did not set these events into motion. more or less that Raynor was even present at Yusupov's home that fateful evening. But it doesn't matter. There's no proof for it, but other people are going to say there's no proof against it.
Yes. So what stops you from saying yes or no?
So
there isn't.
Theory will not die. Now, supposedly, Raynor later told his family that he was present on the night, and the news even made its way into his obituary. Again, he could have been, who knows? He may not have even said that. His family could have just made that shit up. Nobody knows.
He'd still be living. I don't know. I'm just, at this point, I don't even know anymore. He probably wasn't even real. He was just a figment of everybody's imagination. I don't know at this point. Anyway, sorry, keep going.
Samuel Orr was rather quick, though, to learn about Rasputin's demise, sending a telegram to London only hours before the news of the murder was public in Petrograd. But still, I expect nothing less of the British head of intelligence in Petrograd. Like, picking up news tidbits before the general population is in the job description. Like,
inside job.
I would hope.
Inside job.
I would
inside
hope
job. Just saying.
That the British head of intelligence would know a little bit before the general population.
You would think.
Somebody had murdered Rasputin. I don't think that it's anything to get like, oh, he did it, he knew about it, and that's why he just telegrammed. He didn't telegram London before it was done. It's just like, there's plenty of time to go knocking on doors.
That would incriminate him. You know, would incriminate him. He's in on it. No, I don't know. You never know.
Quickly crushed all rumors within the country of British involvement. My opinion, I think it's all complete and utter bullshit. Despite these little Easter eggs, if you will. I believe that Rasputin was indeed killed by his fellow countrymen. In my opinion. So why do I think that? Because the sources don't support it. I mean that we have to do our homework. Like, the sexiest headline is seldom the correct headline, guys. So that's food for thought as we kind of blaze the trail into the pandemic unknown. I think these guys thought that killing Rasputin would save the monarchy. And I definitely think he was killed by Russians. Of course, yeah, they ended up making a huge mistake. Because the murder of Rasputin ultimately hastened the fall of the Romanovs. And again, please see the podcast I mentioned before, and there are a ton of great books out there devoted to the subject. Still, I thought it was really interesting, and it's a conspiracy that just will not die. If I have to read one more book about it, I'm going to vomit.
Well, it was just, it definitely is something that I never thought about, of course, because again, I'm not in that field. But when you said, hey, you can even just read, a simple article, which you're right. All I did at first was read a simple article. But because the article didn't really, it was more questions than answers. And then I read another one. And then there was more questions than answers than that one. And I was like, oh my God, what is happening right now? Like, I am so confused. I don't have any interest of actually going down the rabbit hole, but yet here I am. I'm like looking at it, and I finally look at my husband, who I didn't realize fell asleep. I'm like, wait, what time is it? What dimension am I in? Like, it was one of those things. I started questioning everything that I had first read about Rasputin because of the fact that of the things that have been said and put out there. It makes it difficult to actually be like, all right, who should I believe?
This and this. Well, exactly.
Yeah. Well, what's real and what's not? Yeah,
and that's the problem with this, especially when we talk about end days for the Romanovs. We talk about Rasputin. We talk about his death. We talk about the fall of the regime. That's why it's so clouded in mystery, because it's so draped.
Okay. Right. Okay. So here, I do have a question. I have a question for you, Jessica, about Rasputin. Is the reason why that he was, and what I've kind of gathered is that people kind of hated him because that he cured and was able to cure something that regular doctors couldn't, or was it he knew too much information, or did he actually murder people? Was he a bad guy? Because in the movie Anastasia, and I know Disney, but
that movie has
I know it's evil. So he's not evil, because I did read a few things that he was.
Oh.
I did read a few things, once I got done, there are a few bad things.
I think he was a weird guy that liked to drink and party and whore. He made the mistake.
Does that make him mad?
Made the mistake of he's sleeping with everybody's wives and daughters and whatever. That tends to piss people off. He also tried to make some changes to orthodoxy and to the orthodoxy religion. And if you'll remember back from Filaret Romanov's time, as we
don't change religion,
forward, all of those, patriarchs trying to change thing about Russian orthodoxy, because he was a monk. He originally began life as a monk in Siberia, but he was also a horse thief before that and all kinds of stuff.
Okay, because usually I've seen a pattern when we talk about things like that. It's one of those things where it's like people conspire against somebody because they are ruining the country, or they're killing everybody, or they're doing bad things. But it's like, I feel like everything that I read about him as a person, I know you say he's a person, but I went down that conspiracy. Part of me is like, but was he? It's just one of the things. But was he? I don't know. But it seems like he didn't go about his business to kill entire empires or countries or civilizations.
No, he didn't.
So it's like, why attack a man who was actually being helpful for the Tsar? Right? Like, technically,
he's the only person that can keep Alexei Romanov alive. Now, it's very important at this point in time in history, women could not inherit the throne. We're not going to go back into history as why that is the case. They used to be able to. They couldn't anymore.
Okay.
So, Alexei needed to stay alive, or the Romanov regime would ultimately crumble. The face of Russia changes. The people who were next in line, that was not possible. It was written into the Constitution. It's not possible.
Okay.
So,
all right. I just
keep Alexei alive and healthy. So he becomes indispensable to the Tsar.
Right, and that's what they ultimately care about.
And so then the Tsar keeps giving him more power and more gifts and more power. He's second in command. He's running the country when Nicholas goes off to war. And so you've got a court of Grand Dukes and princes and basically what used to be boyars as well, and advisors. And what are they? They're jealous.
They're jealous.
Service they can't possibly provide.
Aladdin all over again. Jafar being like, second. I'm second.
Police into this.
Sorry.
Let's not pull the Islamic world into this.
Sorry, I just again. Disney Plus. Disney Plus has taken over my life. I've been watching a lot of Disney movies. Sorry. Anyway, but no, it's just kind of a metaphor to kind of make me understand.
No, you're right. You're right. It's more of a jealousy thing. He wasn't necessarily an evil human being. He wasn't a good one.
Jealous.
He was just a person.
He made him evil. I mean, and jealousy is one of the deadliest.
There is a lot more to that. Obviously, I'm just trying to hand out to you the basic.
We're not a 3-hour podcast like Dan, where we talk like this. We're way hotter.
Seriously about history.
We could talk about history like this.
About history.
Oh my God, history is
I love history, Mr. President.
Our viewers are probably what is happening?
What the heck? Again, we're going to encourage you guys to go over to our Patreon because you can.
We're done.
Sorry, we're done.
Yeah, sorry, we kind of
wrap it up. So that was
fun. Yeah, I learned some shit. I asked about some shit. I feel like it was good.
Last time we ever play historical forensic files on this show, though, because Jessica
Yeah.
just wanted to do something a little bit fun, and it turned into something not so much fun. It took me a lot further down the rabbit hole than I intended to go, but I got
You
angry.
confused me. So
I got angry. I've confused everyone. It's just it's shit as normal here on Body Count Podcast. So really quickly, I want to have everyone please go and check out Time Travel Talks at Time Travel Talks on Twitter.
Yeah.
They were kind enough to promote us recently, and we always have a really great time every couple of weeks participating in the history chats. They are
It sounded like somebody was dying. Everyone, I can give you the location of Jessica Manor. No, I'm just teasing.
No kidding. Now, these guys were kind enough to promote us.
Oh, yes, yeah.
We love doing these history chats every couple of weeks. They're geared for everyone. If you know a lot or you know a little, there will be something for you. It doesn't really matter what the knowledge level is. There's something geared for everybody. There's a question for everybody. There's participation for everybody. Oh my God.
Down like you tell me.
Yeah, exactly. They deserve it. So we have a great time. We want to see some of our listeners, especially some of you that are always gabbing about history or hitting me up in DMs that are not part of this group already. We'd love to have you come and join in. We have a lot of fun there, gabbing about history. And I promise we are just as weird on Twitter as we are on this show. All of that notwithstanding, we are back. We are focused. And again, we thank you so much, listeners, for your patience, and watchers, I guess viewers this time they will be. Remember, if you love the show, please go and rate and review us wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, come and follow us on social media. First, we want you guys to go check out our network's website, and that is going to be at bigheadsmedia.com. You can find us there, listen to our episodes there, just as easily as you can from podcast players or anything like that. You can buy merchandise there. If you love the show, go out, support us. All goes through them. It's also at Big Heads Media on Twitter. To find the show, we are going to be at Body Count Pod on both Instagram and on Twitter. You can also find us at our website at bodycounthistorypod.com. You can listen to everything from there as well. And then, Bethany, where do people find you?
Bethany Skelton 5 on Twitter. I'm associated with Body Count Podcast. So if you find us on Twitter, you'll find myself and Jessica. You can find me at Bethany RN24 on Instagram. So yeah, that's it.
You can find me at Jessica B. Manor. I'm simple. On Twitter and Instagram. Again, DM me. You can also, if you have questions, notes, want to know.
Yeah, DM her.
DM
not me.
If you're not on Twitter, you can also email me at jessicamanor@bodycountpod.com. I wouldn't suggest doing it. I don't really get on
dance major, history major, historian. So yeah, again, DM her, not me.
Yeah, throw your hate at me where it belongs. That's why we put it out in the very beginning in the intro. So guys, we will be coming back at you next week. We are back.
Finally, we're here, and we're not going anywhere. Dang.
Where are we gonna go? Where are we gonna go?
Except for be teachers.
You know what it is. We love you guys, and you will hear from us next week.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.